Great. So we have three panelists here who I'm really excited to have a conversation with. This is first off Dr. Daryl Hilton, who is a director over at the University of the District of Columbia. Uh, Dr. Hilton has been certainly a friend and colleague for sure to the Upswing team. But I actually had the opportunity to meet Dr. Hilton the first time before COVID, and we had a good opportunity to just kind of learn a little bit more about what each of us were doing in terms of just equity in education. And so I'm really excited to have him here. We also have Dr. Magdalena de la Teja. Um, Dr. De La Teja is actually going to be presenting at the next presentation as well. She's part of the JED Foundation and is going to share some of her experiences not only as a consultant but also having worked with various different organizations throughout the state of Texas. And then finally, we have Ms. Marcia Westry, who is a Learning Assistance Center coordinator at Bishop State Community College. We've been working with Bishop State for quite a while, and so I'm really excited to have all three of them here. So without further ado, we will start the conversation with Dr. Hilton, Dr. De La Teja, and Ms. Westry. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you guys here.
Thanks, Melvin. This is going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
We really appreciate being here with Upswing and talking about what we do and why it's important.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's great to have you all here as well. Um, I wanted to start by asking if you all wouldn't mind just giving an introduction of yourselves and your work and how you've come into this space in the first place. So perhaps Dr. De La Teja, would you like to begin first?
Sure, sure. First, I'd like to say that my pronouns are she, her, and ella. And my name is Magdalena de la Teja, but you can also call me Maggie, whichever one you prefer. And I've had the pleasure of working at some amazing community colleges, but I started my career at the University of Texas at Austin. And I tell everybody I got to the community college as fast as I could. The colleges I've had the pleasure of being a Dean of Student Services at Austin Community College. And Austin Community College is an upswing institution. And I also was a vice president for student development services at Tarrant County College, the Northeast campus, which was the largest campus. And I might add that both of these institutions became HSIs, Hispanic Serving Institutions, while I was there. I didn't do all the work, but I can be excited that we did become HSIs while I was employed there. Most recently, I have been hanging out with the JED Foundation, amazing folks. And I am a subject matter expert consultant and external contributor, and I've been doing that for over 3 years. The other thing I want to mention is that throughout my career, I've been involved with NASPA. And the reason that I'm here is because I serve on the NASPA Community Colleges Division Latinx AO Task Force. So we're very proud of the work that we do. And working with historically underrepresented students is my life mission. And that's what brings me here today. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Wonderful introduction there. And Ms. Westry, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marcia Westry. I actually started out at Bishop State Community College as a student. I came back for employment, was employed as a math tutor after working in the high school sector with our local public school system for over 13 years. My transition here to Bishop was again as a math tutor. From there, I then became coordinator of the Learning Assistance Center, where we do all things testing and tutoring here. Our goal is to provide our students, because we know that not all of them are already college ready. So we're here to just give them that support that they need so that they're able to proceed forward and become academically ready for those, especially for those that are going to those four-year institutions. We want to give them the baseline that they need so that they are able to proceed forward. And as well as our non-traditional students that may enter into the workforce. We thrive on making certain that they are also ready, they're work ready, and they're very knowledgeable of what it is that's needed in the industry and also other work related fields.
Great, great. Well, welcome to the panel. I wanted to start by asking you both a question, specifically around exactly what you were starting there with, Ms. Westry, around the fact that um, you're saying that trying to get students to the point of feeling like they have the confidence, the readiness to not only start but complete their educational careers. How have you seen that perhaps adjust or stay the same over the course of the last few years as you continue to work and grow within that student body? I'm specifically kind of thinking about perhaps over the course of the last 4 or 5 years where
Right.
we've seen a new type of student, if you will, come to college.
Well, with us, because we're in an area where we are now seeing those students that are coming out of that COVID pandemic, students that learn to do things their own way. And now that they're coming into the college spectrum, a lot of them are not ready. They feel like, oh, well, I didn't really have to do the work when I was in high school. The teachers also they became complacent also as well. But now on the collegiate side, they're seeing like, whoa, this is a new retrospect. This is a new perspective that we have to now really gear into. But from our point of view, we are seeing these students that are not able to make that 18, 19, or 20 on the ACT. They're not developmentally ready for those collegiate classes. So one of our goals that we have here, which unlike most of our community colleges across the state, we have a tutorial center where our students are able to come in and receive tutoring for free. So that's one of the things that we are able to help them within our center where I'm located now. We're able to allow them to come in, receive free tutoring and all of our subject matters that we do offer. Now, we primarily like to focus on our math and English skills for our students because it allows them that's especially in math. Most of our students are not math savvy. You say the word math, here comes that fear, and they're ready to go out the door. But with our developmental courses, it's mandated. They have mandatory tutorial sessions. So we look at it as a way of almost not really forcing them, but strongly encouraging them because that mandatory tutoring, it works in our favor because we're able to really just kind of pinpoint those students and give them that one-on-one help in which it is that they need. Once they see that they have that help available, then they're able to come back and that retention grows. And we've been able to see that with those students that started out in both developmental math and English, their retention, oh, wait, I can come to the Learning Center. I can still get the help, even though it's not mandatory for me anymore. It's like we have that safe space where they know, hey, if I can't get the help here that's needed, they're going to make certain that, even if we have to, and we do use Upswing as a matter of fact. So if we have something or a subject matter that is not have a tutor available at that time, yes, we do divert them to Upswing so that they can still get the assistance that's needed. That in turns build that confidence that they're looking for, and they have that self-assurance. Hey, I don't have to go home and study. I still have access, even though my work schedule may have changed. So they're able to do what it is that's needed, and they are confident. And our tutors, they celebrate with our students. So if they've failed the test the first time around, they've come back, get tutoring, they've excelled on the next test. We just see it is that trickle down effect because now that student that was receiving help has told a friend, that friend has told someone, and we are impacted from that aspect. And the students see that they have that area of, and that confidence begin to build from there.
That makes a ton of sense, especially as you're talking about giving more of that scaffolding in the earlier moments there so that they can basically like a flower start to kind of grow, if you will, over the
Precisely.
course of time. Um, Dr. De La Tea or Maggie, would you also agree that those are some of the challenges that you've seen? I know that you've been both within and outside educational institutions there.
Well, I first of all want to say that Marcia represents the champions at community colleges, the people that have the boots on the ground. And I know that many of our participants today are likely in that category. I consider myself someone with the boots on the ground. I was one of those administrators that loved to walk the campus and go and meet faculty and staff, and I just loved smiling with students along the way, just so I could see how the students were doing, how the faculty was doing. And I want to start talking a little bit about what I began to see as I was in higher ed in the community college. One of the things that sometimes you would hear is faculty saying, our students are changing. It's so difficult. They don't know how to read, write, math scares them. What are we going to do? Well, I'm someone who loves to learn. And I also like to do research. So I ran across someone who I wanted to mention, and that's Dr. Estella Ben Simon. I don't know how many of you are aware of the work she's done on equity principles. Well, what she had to say to us in higher ed as leaders is that it's not about the students doing the work. It's about us as people who are educators doing the work. It's about us accepting equity mindedness, that kind of lens, so that we do the work to change so that our students that we serve are the ones that are the beneficiaries of the change that we create as our landscape changes. Because let's face it, tomorrow could be very different from today. So we know that. And so what's important is for us to keep in mind that as our opening speaker shared with us, we have to look at our organization, our systems, our structures. We have to be able to work on those synergies. And I love that he said lasting impacts, because that's also what I'm very interested in. And I will say this probably several times, that what's really important for us as we look at our students is to look at our data on students and disaggregate it by ethnicity, race, gender, age, all those factors that are important to us, because that's the only way that we know how our students are changing, what they need. And that's something that's really come home to me in my work with the JED Foundation. And I have always liked data to begin with. So I think that that's something that is very important for us to learn and know about our students. So Marcia, let me ask you, I bet that you do look at the kind of students that come in to see your service folks. You probably have data. I hope you've disaggregated it by ethnicity. What can you tell me about that, Marcia?
Well, the data that we keep is not just necessarily from the ethnic standpoint. We look at it as a student body overall. We don't separate it from one gender from another. We don't separate it male versus female. We don't separate it even by ethnicity. What we look at the total class as a whole, and we compare that to those students that came to take the placement test, which we do use the AccuPlacer here in the state of Alabama as a placement test for our students, not necessarily just using the ACT. Not all students, when, as we know, having been in education, students that go in to take the ACT, they're not going to be serious about it. even though it is mandated in the state of Alabama that all juniors are required to take the ACT, but they are not always serious about it. So with that in mind, we do compare our data from the active place of those that tested into those developmental classes, those that also tested over into our college level courses. We do follow their trend as far as the percentage of those that come to the LEC to receive the assistance versus those that do not. But what we found, data alone, which has also been very supportive, that our students that attend the LEC and even our retention is very high, they have a higher passing rate than those that do not attend. So this is one of the things that how we compare our data, looking at those, and we still give them opportunity because we do know that life happens with our students. The majority of our students, some are single parents, some are students that have come in from the foster care system. Some are our older students that are just returning back because they took the time to raise their families. So not putting an ethnic aspect upon it, we look at our student body as a whole. Is still yet just one person, one individual. Everybody makes up our community college here. So with that, we often like to make certain that we are giving them all of the available resources that they can possibly have, both day as well as night, to make certain that they are very successful.
Thank you for that, Marcia. What I want to say, Melvin, is that while I go and visit various campuses through the JED Foundation, that's one of the things we ask is what data do you collect and how do you break it down? And generally, we find that both at community colleges and at four-year institutions, the academic and student affairs leaders are breaking down that data. What you find sometimes when you look at overall data, as Marcia has said, is that the students may appear to be doing really well. But when you start breaking down that data by various categories, you begin to see some of the students who might be struggling or so forth. And I bet Marcia knows which are the ones of the students that are struggling. I also want to mention, too, that even early on in my career at the University of Texas, when we looked at data to see who was using the tutoring services, who was using career services, you know what we found? We found that it was the students with 3.0, 3.5 GPAs, and also a high percentage of the white students who are using those services, rather than those students who might have a 2.0 or struggling or whatever. So it's one of those areas that we need to work on as higher ed leaders.
Yeah, I'm that definitely I think that tracks as well with what we've seen. I know that a couple of things we've noticed with just some of our data here at Upswing, and I'd certainly love to hear if that's what you all are seeing as well. The first one is that we'll see, especially in some of those barrier courses, those intro level courses, many of the courses, that you were referring to, Ms. Westry, about the, that students are coming into at the AccuPlacer, they might struggle just like everyone else might struggle.
Right.
But the difference is whether or not they see that struggle as indicative of a challenge to overcome, or whether they see it as indicative of themselves, their self-worth, whether or not they belong. And to me, that's been one of the things that we've seen in the data where, we'll find students, particularly students from specific backgrounds, who will be more likely to think that, I just don't belong here. This isn't for me. Actually, on a personal note, that was something that happened to me while I was in college. Was my first semester, my my transcript did not look that great, and so, I felt like, wow, being the only person from South Georgia going to this college, or maybe not the only person, but what felt like the only person, that meant that I don't belong here and I should leave. And so, I'm wondering if that's something that you all have seen as well, and maybe what are some of the ways in which you've tried to help to navigate those feelings, because we know that once you get the confidence, you can kind of move forward. But are there strategies or activities that you've been able to pursue to help students to feel like they actually do belong here and they can continue on even if they've had a couple of rough marks?
Well, I know one of the things that we do allow our students, again, like I say, well, we use Learning Assistance Center, but we also abbreviate it by LAC, as most of our students know it as. Um, they know that there's a safe space. So when we have those students that are in that area where they're feeling like they don't belong, we do have counselors that are here. A lot of times, our students just want to talk to their tutor because they've gone and they've learned more about the tutor from everyone. Um, and our staff knows our students. We know our regulars. We know the ones that are coming in new at the beginning
Right.
of each semester. And a lot of them, by word of mouth, hey, you ever need to talk, there's somebody in the LAC that will be able to kind of help assist you. So we hear what it is that they have to say, but we also surround them with all of the resources in which it is that's needed, simply because of the fact that there could be a food insecurity. There could be a housing situation. There could be gas that's needed just to get to school. Anything that's dealing with life within itself, that's one of the things in which it is that we truly try to make certain that we have those resources that are available. Even with our foundation, we have a Bishop State Foundation that allows our students as well as community leaders to be able to donate over into that to help with some of the costs that our students may face. So we're able to help remove some of those barriers. We've paid rent, we've paid car notes, we've gotten everything it is that needed to be done. If you think of it, it has come to us. But we were able to also outsource our students to the particular areas that we know that will be able to assist them. So when you're able to help a student remove a barrier, there's like this light. Well, wait, are you all gonna help me with this? Yes, we're gonna help you. Why? Because you are a part of Bishop State. You are one of our family members, and family takes care of family. So we make certain that we kind of remove as many of those barriers out of the way. And when that help has come to a student, especially when they feel as if there's nothing else that is left for them to do. And we've had students that had to decide whether or not they're going to continue with school or if they got to withdraw because they need to take care of family members or an
Mm,
illness has taken place and things of that nature. We sit them down and kind of go over a plan of action with them to say, okay, let's choose the best course of action for you without them having to just sit and try to do it all on their own and then mess up financial aid, having to do appeals and things of that magnitude, having to re-enroll in school. Now,
right.
granted, there are some things that we cannot do, but we do have the resources that we're able to uh, afford them to have that opportunity to be able to receive.
That's really amazing to hear, especially that idea there that people who are former Bishop State, or I assume everyone, but uh, former Bishop State alums can actually pay it forward, if you will, and help
Right.
support other students as well. I really love that. Um,
As an alum, that's one of the things I do monthly. I have a certain amount to go to the foundation. Hey, let it be. Why? Because I was in that situation. I was that
right.
single mother with 3 kids that came back to school. I didn't have the transportation. I didn't have a job.
Mm,
Um, I just stepped out on faith. But a lot of people are not as strong in order to do that. But I knew I was going to be determined because I knew I needed to be able to provide for my kids at the time. But listening to some of our students that are coming in, just what it is that I went through alone, I'm able to help with them to let them know, hey, if I was able to do it and I didn't have as many resources as you have now, use
absolutely.
the resources that are available and still keep pushing forward. You're going to have that bump in the road. You may get knocked off the road, but whatever you do, don't give up. So I was able to help encourage a lot of our students that just felt like, well, this is not for me. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to have that dream job as a nurse. Yes, you will. You will be able to do it. We just have to reconfigure the pathway in which it is that you're going to take it. You're a full-time student, you're trying to work a full-time job, and by all means, you're a full-time mom.
Yep.
So because all of this will factor in, let's see how we're going to, it may not be according to your plan. Oh, I want to do this in 2 years. But mom, you just had a new baby. We have to look, and they come to me and I take the entire cover off. I say, you got to look at all aspects. You can't sugarcoat it. You got to look at things in which it is that they are. And when we are completely open and honest with our students and give them that mindset that, hey, I can get it done. It's just not going to be in the time frame that I'm looking to get it done. You have more of that retention, and that extra load is off, because it's
Yeah,
hard working full time, trying to be a full time student, and you're a full time mom. That's just the reality.
absolutely.
So you have to give them a different aspect of being able to achieve the goal. It may not be in that same amount of time, but that goal is still yet achievable, especially when they don't have a support system and everything still yet falls back on them.
Yeah, and that last piece is the critical piece there. I felt like even given some of my experiences, one of the things that I know that I was blessed to have was a family support group, other people who I could, who expected, that I would continue to move forward and succeed,
Mhm.
folks in my, in my faith community, but that I know friends where they didn't have any of that. And so when you come to a college, when you come to a community college or to a university, you might think that that's exactly the same way. And I think a lot of times where students, I think someone wrote this in the chat, they might be surprised that there are even these resources that are even available to them because that's what they've expected, is that they have to do it all alone. Um, and so I see Dr. Hilton, it's good to see you here. I know that you actually created a program specifically to help support minority males with some of these challenges, to make sure that they know that there are support groups that they can have as they're beginning their college journey as well. I'd love for you to just introduce yourself and just maybe share a little bit more about some of the ways in which you've tried to create support mechanisms for them as well.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. And I apologize for my tardiness. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm tardy. I have 3 different conferences happening this week, and that's one of them. Yes, but my name is Dr. Daryl Hilton. I'm the Director of Special Programs here at the University of the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C. So, and I would say by title, I would say, yes, by title, that means nothing. Like the work that I do by title means nothing. But the areas in which I oversee are like our new student orientation, registration, first year experience, transfer student experience, our early alert program, supplemental instruction, tutoring, Tau Sigma Honor Society, Alpha Lambda Delta Honor Society, the Collegiate Black Male Network, academic coaching, right? So I have a lot that's happening in my portfolio that gets wrapped up in a tiny name called special programs. But specifically, what Melvin was stating was the Collegiate Black Male Network, and that is a nonprofit organization that I founded in February of 2020 with the mission to help increase the persistence and graduation rates of collegiate Black men. Because what we realized is that even though there are many colleges and universities um, who are doing this work, there's still a need, right? We still are experiencing Black men having the lowest graduation rate among all racial and gender demographics. We also noticed that there in the K-12 space, there's so much energy, effort, time, effort, and resources that are placed into helping these students get to college and get into college, which is great. But then we drop them off in this brand new space, sometimes in a brand new state across the country, and we expect them to thrive in the same way in which we gave them the support when we were in K 12. And so we recognized that that was a need. And so, as an extension of my doctoral research, I looked at the impact of mentoring. I created the Collegiate Black Male Network along with my co founder, Dr. Jamie Inge. And here we are celebrating our 5-year anniversary this year and being able to see the impacts of that work. And one of the things actually came from Melvin. I had a conversation with him when we talked about professional mentoring and looking at how are we creating spaces for these Black males to uh, be connected with individuals who are in the career fields that they aspire to, because we recognize, and this is not to downplay the work of career services, but we recognize that sometimes for our Black males, when you look at the career fair, that could be a very large and intimidating space, right? Because now I'm expecting them to have a resume, which they may have or may not have ever done. I'm expecting them to have professional attire that they may or may not have. We're expecting them to know how to step into the space, to navigate this large meeting room, to interact with employers, and hopefully someone likes them well enough to offer them a job or an internship. And so we took that idea and said, hey, how can we create a professional mentorship program to where we can connect individuals directly with people who are in those career fields? So for example, I had an individual who's in our program who says, hey, I want to be a judge. So his professional mentor was not just a random person in the field of or the legal field. It was an associate district court judge who, worked with him. And as a result of that, he was able to go overseas, get his master's in law and went to law school, and now he's back on the States working in the field. We have another one who says, hey, I want to be a pilot. His professional mentor is a pilot for American Airlines. So that's just to show you the connection and the intentionality that we have behind the work that we do, and how we are able to bring equity to the experiences for our young men to level set what life will be for the next generation of individuals coming through.
Well, those are two really impressive examples. Being able to connect students with resources like pilots and those who are judges. Obviously, we're talking right before you hopped on about how Bishop State is providing resources by allowing alums to donate. It sounds like the key theme here that we want to make sure is happening when we're talking about supporting these diverse students is making sure that they recognize, so there's an awareness of the resources that are available to them, and that we decrease the barriers to access to those resources. That's what it sounds like I'm hearing kind of across all of the themes of the conversations that we've had so far. Um, One question that I have is that, as you know, there are over 300 people that have registered here today, so certainly people who are thinking about these in different contexts. Um, we are recognizing that we're in a moment where there are certainly funding restrictions. There are I actually saw a recent study that talked about how there's a lot of turnover happening amongst school advisors because their case management has increased so much over the course of the last 4 years to where it can be 300, 400, 500 per advisor. Um, so when we're talking about and thinking about how much more of a challenge it is to continue to do even yesterday's work, um, with some of the funding cuts and just restrictions and resource constraints, what are some of the ways in which you all have seen to continue to do the work that we need to do tomorrow, to continue to support these students as well? And I'll just open up and allow for whoever might feel the most confident answering that question.
I want to go ahead and mention something, Melvin. You talked about the students needing a sense of belonging. I wanted to just say that that's so very important right now. And because of the changing landscape in higher education, we really have to emphasize that. Post the pandemic, we all have learned that wellness and a sense of belonging and feeling that we matter as students and even as employees, as team members, that really needs to be emphasized, because that is part and a big part of our changing landscape for the students that we are seeing at community colleges in particular, but also at universities. So I wanted to say that I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Dr. Terrell Strayhorn, but he has done a lot of research. I see you smiling, Daryl. Yeah, he's done a lot of research on sense of belonging. So what I wanted to mention is that Marcia talked about the basic needs of our students. That's so important that we look at And this is what Strayhorn says, that we have to provide and make sure that they have the food, the shelter, and the security that they need, because many of our students come without those benefits. And so we need to make sure that that happens. And once we are watching for that, as Marcia has mentioned, listening to students, Daryl working with our African American males, our Latino males, so very important. Our data shows that those students are struggling. I just want to say that that's fundamental. And then we add layers to that to help our students feel a sense of belonging and feel that they matter and are making a difference. And we also are looking to see which are the students that are struggling, and we can know that by seeing them, listening to them, but we can also know that by disaggregating our data. So, Daryl, I wanted to ask you a question. When you work with your African American male students, how do you use data to inform your work?
Absolutely. So this kind of spins off in two different directions. So one, I for my doctoral research, I looked at the graduation rates of the specific institution that I worked at, and it showed at that particular institution that Black males graduated at a rate of 8%, 0.8%. And so to address that, I created two sections of the first year seminar course to address that. And in that one semester, we saw that no students failed the class. We had two students out of the 28 that were in the two sections that were on academic probation. We had a 71% retention rate, persistence rate fall to spring. So really, really good data. And so we kind of expanded that. And I've actually taken some of those elements and incorporated into my academic coaching model here at the University of the District of Columbia, where we work with first time at UDC transfer students. We work with our Black males, and we have first time in college students that are from DCPS public and charter high schools. And with some of those elements, along with some other research and things that I've kind of built out for this academic coaching model, we were able to see a decrease in academic probation in one semester by 13%. I will say this fall to spring transition, our transfer student persistence rate went up almost 10%. Our Black males went up around almost 5%, and the last cohort is our FTICs went up about 7% through the different things that I've learned throughout my research, throughout just practical day-to-day work. And honestly, it's really rooted in communication and engagement. And I know that sounds very cliche in the higher ed space. Well, we just have to be better engagers with our students. But my philosophy of student success, and this is how I lead, and I've shared this multiple times in Upswing, I share it with everyone. My philosophy of student success is that it's built on trust, it's sustained through meaningful relationships, and it's effective through engagement. And I think that many higher ed institutions and many higher ed practitioners, we want to just jump straight to the engagement. How do we engage students? How do we better engage students? And I'm like, well, you can't engage them unless you have a relationship with them, and you can't develop a relationship with them if they don't have your trust. So when we talk about the different things, I think Marcia has shared it as well, with all of the different life experiences that people are bringing and the baggage that they're bringing into these higher ed spaces. Many of them are not looking to be engaged in that moment, because they're just like, what is most important for me at this time when I'm stepping on foot onto your campus? And so you have to take the time to intentionally get to know them, to intentionally connect with them, to build their trust, to let them know that you have the resources to support them, because we're also asking them, right, these higher ed institutions, these random people that they don't know, yes, please be very vulnerable with me. Tell me what you have going on, because I have a resource for you, right? And they're like, I don't know you. You don't know where I come from. You don't know anything about me. And you just expect me to just dump all of my problems on you and then expect you to fix it. I've done that in my community and they didn't help me. And so, how do you start building that trust with them first? And then, once you have that trust, you develop the relationship so they really truly understand that you are there to support them. And then, once they have that understanding, then you can engage them with any and everything that you have possible for them. And so, just kind of having that framework and that approach, I've been able to translate that not just for African American males, but all like different student types that we use our institutional data to determine who's most at risk coming in the door. Because as a part of our academic coaching model is, we used to work with students who were on academic probation, but I think that's a very reactive model, which is pretty much saying, hey, we have resources, but we're not going to give them to you until you're already 1 foot out the door. So we say, well, let's utilize this institutional data where we're able to identify people on the front end who are most at risk of not persisting and utilize that trust, relationship, and engagement to develop systems and to put systems in place to support them proactively to prevent probation altogether. So that I hope that answers your question. It's a roundabout way, but it's multiple connections that kind of got us to this point and where I am today in the work.
I just want to respond to say, I love your energy, Daryl, and that was amazing response. And I wanted to go back to Melvin. You asked the question about the changing landscape, and there unfortunately a move to restrict how we work with students. But I just want to say that we are very innovative people. We have struggled, we have gone through barriers, we have maintained our integrity and our enthusiasm despite whatever barrier is put in front of us. So I'm here to say that no matter what, as higher ed leaders, we're accountable for student success and impact. So we have to be the ones being equity minded to make the changes that we need to make. And we need to be the ones that are familiar with policy, institutional policy, our federal laws, our state laws. And we need to work together, hold hands, and support each other as we support the students and help them get their college education and then get a good job, a living wage job.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. That's such a motivating piece to end on there. I really appreciate everyone's time here today. I know we didn't get a chance to share the conversation back and forth with Lou. We'll share that afterwards for everyone. But I think that the conversation that Ms. Westry, Dr. Hilton, and Dr. De La Teja shared with how they're creating that experience to support students has really helped to fill our visions and understandings of how we can continue to support our students. So I really thank all three of you all for coming in today and for sharing your perspectives. And yeah, hope you all continue to just keep doing that great work that you're doing today.